I never thought I'd watch my garage turn into a swimming pool because of a homeowners association. But one morning, that's exactly what happened. Water blasting out of my lawn, like Yellowstone boxes of family photos and tax records floating in the mess, and the president of the HOA standing there in a pink visor like she was directing a Broadway show. That was the day I learned how far Sabrina Lowell was willing to go and how far I'd have to push back. It started like this. I woke up to the sound of metal clanging where it had no business clanging. I thought maybe it was roadwork, maybe some city project, but when I pulled the blinds, coffee still hot in my hand, I saw 3 guys in neon vests digging trenches right across my front yard. No trucks, no paperwork, no door knock, just shovels tearing through my grass. And right there, standing in the geyser they had unleashed from my irrigation line, was Sabrina, the queen bee of Maple Crest HOA visor, crooked polo shirt, soaked transparent, barking orders like she was managing a crisis she hadn't caused. I rushed out barefoot, water already sliding into the garage, licking at cardboard boxes I'd been meaning to move for weeks. Tax files, old family albums, even a brand new bag of fertilizer all soaking up the dirty water. I yelled, "What the hell are you doing?" And Sabrina looked at me like I was the one ruining her day. She slicked her bangs back, tilted her chin and said, "Mr. Cole, we're addressing unapproved underground features encroaching on the HOA buffer. Consider this a courtesy excavation." A courtesy? My jaw locked. I pointed at the fountain of water shooting sky high. "That's a water main, Sabrina. And that's my life flooding into my garage." She raised her voice for the gathering neighbors. "This isn't your property line, it's HOA common ground. You installed unauthorized lines." I didn't argue, not right there. I jogged back inside, grabbed my survey from the shelf, the one stamped and notarized in 1996, easements clearly drawn official signatures proof that my drainage and irrigation had every right to exist. I unrolled it on the wet lawn like a damn scroll and jabbed my finger at the line. "See this recorded before your bylaws, before your visor. This easement runs exactly where your men are digging." She didn't even look. Just gave that dismissive little wave people give a waiter when they've already decided they're not tipping. "If you have concerns, submit them in writing." Then she turned her back on me. By the time the valve was finally shut off and the water trickled to silence, my yard looked like a war zone. Torn, sod-broken pipes, mud curling up like dead skin. And worse, a severed black pipe near my retaining wall, the runoff line that kept tons of soil from collapsing. That night it rained, and by dawn I found a new crack spidering across the base of the wall. My stomach dropped. That wasn't just damage, it was danger. The next afternoon, as if none of it mattered, Sabrina left a letter in my mailbox. No stamp, just arrogance. A fine for $2,750 unauthorized subterranean installations landscaping non-compliance. And of course she spread rumors at the clubhouse that I had built some secret illegal drainage system years ago, which would be hilarious if it weren't so damaging because anyone who knows me knows I watch YouTube tutorials just to change a shower head. For a moment I almost believed her. That's the sick part. I sat in my kitchen, wet survey rolled up like a useless relic, wondering if I had messed up. Maybe I did miss something in the paperwork. Maybe the HOA really had the authority. I pictured legal fees hearings, months of neighbors whispering. I thought about just paying the fine and letting it go. But then I went out to check the wall again, saw the crack had grown longer, darker, damp soil pressing behind it. And I knew if I let this slide, it wouldn't just cost me money, it could cost me my home. That's when I called Diego. A friend in construction, a man with the tools I didn't have. "Bring your ground-penetrating radar," I said, "and your most surgical shovel." He sighed and asked, "HOA." And I said, "Isn't it always?" By dawn, Diego and I were rolling his radar unit across the HOA's prized brick sidewalk. And sure enough, the little screen lit up a clean line exactly where the old easement map said it would be. A contingency drainage route laid out by the original developer before Sabrina was ever around to terrorize people. At sunrise, we lifted one neat strip of sod dug, carefully reconnected the pipe, capped the severed main, and tucked everything back in place like it had never been touched. By 9 a.m., my sprinklers were ticking away water arcing in perfect rainbows. Mine and mine alone. Of course Sabrina wasn't done. A second letter arrived, angrier, all caps, accusing me of unauthorized diversion of community resources. Then came the surveillance camera slapped onto an HOA lamppost aimed straight at my driveway. I waved at it every morning while watering the roses, then hacked the feed and replaced it with the loop of a fat raccoon trying to ride my sprinkler like a rodeo bull. If she wanted evidence, she could have that. But then something happened she couldn't laugh off. The sloppy sidewalk her workers had ripped up and patched started sinking. One afternoon, a neighbor kid, Mason helmet, too big, scooter too fast, hit the uneven brick and nearly broke his arm. His mom screamed and my heart dropped. You can argue about lawns, but you can't argue about kids' bones. Suddenly, the neighborhood buzz turned against her. I sat down that night and built my case like stacking bricks. Photos of the geyser, the flood in my garage, the severed pipe, the wall crack, the sinking bricks, the bogus fines, the notarized easement. And I sent it all to the county utilities office with a letter that basically said, "Your HOA is building a lawsuit waiting to happen." 2 days later, a county inspector named Hanley showed up. Hard hat under his arm, clipboard in hand, eyes tired like he'd seen every scam in the book. When I handed him the easement, he raised his eyebrows like finally someone had something real. He walked the site, measured the cracks, noted the unpermitted work. And right when he was kneeling at the patched sidewalk, Sabrina stormed up in heels demanding answers. Hanley didn't even stand, just wrote calmly and said, "Several unpermitted excavations, violation of a recorded easement, damage to public infrastructure. You'll be receiving notice." For the first time, Sabrina had nothing to say. She turned on her heel and walked off. I wish the story ended there, but control never dies quietly. 2 nights later, my security camera pinged at 10:07. On the feed, I saw an unmarked white van pull up. 3 men with buckets and shovels slipped out like raccoons in human clothes. And then Sabrina appeared, flashlight in hand, whispering orders. They pried up bricks, poured fast-setting concrete into cracks, nervously glancing at my house. They thought they were covering their tracks. But my camera caught everything: plates, faces, timestamps. I trimmed the footage, sent it to Hanley with another polite note. By the next afternoon, the county had barricaded the site with big orange signs, "Hazard. Do not enter." And the HOA got slapped with a citation for tampering with a hazardous site. An investigation into misuse of funds followed. And Sabrina, who once strutted around like a queen, vanished. No more morning walks, no more coffee at the clubhouse. Her name quietly disappeared from the HOA newsletter. Then came the emergency board meeting. The clubhouse was packed, neighbors filling folding chairs, others standing along the walls. The acting president, Russell Pike, sweating bullets, tried to calm the room with words like miscommunication and clarification. But everyone knew what he was avoiding. Then he called me up. I walked to the front with my binder and my laptop. I laid down copies of the easement pointed at the 1996 date, the backup drainage line, the photos of the flood, the wall crack, the child's near accident. Then I plugged in my laptop and hit play. At first people squinted at the dark footage, but then Sabrina stepped into the frame visor, glinting, directing the men like a midnight foreman. The room gasped a collective visceral sound, and then voices erupted. "That's last night I saw the van. She lied to us." Russell banged the gavel, but it was useless. The neighbors had seen enough. A motion was made on the spot: suspend Sabrina from all duties, launch a full audit, hand everything over to the county. A sea of hands rose, nearly unanimous. And just like that, Sabrina's power crumbled. I didn't gloat. I didn't celebrate. I just stood there, binder still warm in my hands, and thought about how close I came to giving up. How close I came to paying the fine and walking away. But standing in that room, hearing the crowd turn against her, I realized something. HOA power only works if you let it. Paper beats bluster. Facts cut sharper than threats. And that's the lesson I'll leave you with. Never underestimate the power of standing your ground, because sometimes that's the only thing that keeps your house from sinking.